Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Now today what we're gonna do is I'm going to show you how to save worse positions in chess. So I have a game today to show you. It was my game from a recent tournament. As you can see, my position is pretty bad here. I'm just a pawn down, and also my e-pawn is going to be under pressure because it's pretty weak. It's my move now, and I of course took the bishop. Now I just want to tell you that if you want to make a draw in these kinds of positions, you're usually gonna have to be pretty annoying. And of course you have to know which endings are good for you, in which you think you're going to draw this game, and you must get into this kind of a position. It's not always that easy, but okay, let's just get back into the game now. I was of course hoping that black would play rook to c8 here, and after bishop to f3, that he would think, okay, I can win a pawn now on e3, but I was of course hoping that he would play this, because now this should be just a draw. As you can see, these pawns are really worth almost nothing, and although he's 2 pawns up, it doesn't really matter because it's also a rook ending and he can't make any progress here. But of course he didn't do that. He just played knight f6, and I returned back. Maybe not the best move, but it doesn't lose or anything. So now he puts more pressure on my weak pawn here, and I just defend it. Now it looks like he can just try to win this pawn by advancing the pawn to f4, because now of course I can't take it because my rook here falls. But the point is that, okay, I can even play rook to a3, for example, and if he wants to, get this pawn, I can play bishop to c6, and when he moves the rook, the point is that I just go back and I'm attacking this pawn 2 times now, and he has to go back and defend it. So that's the point here. I could also play e4 here, and if he takes it, I was thinking about rook to c4, because now he has to move his knight somewhere, and then I just pick up this pawn. And when you get rid of some pawns, in the ending, it becomes easier for you to hold it. So when you're in a worse position in an ending, always trade pawns. Okay, where were we? Okay, he played g5 here, and I played rook to c5, wanting to, attack this pawn, these 2 pawns. But he just played rook to e5, of course. And okay, I exchanged and played king to g3. Now this move just calls for f4, of course, but I really hoped that he would play that. Of course I don't take this because my rook falls, but I play king to f2, and the point is that some exchanges are going to happen here now. He can't avoid this. And like we said, exchanges here favor us, because it's a better chance that we're going to be able to hold against less pawns than more. For example, king to g7, we just take this, and I was counting that this position is a draw, because of course also we can at some point sacrifice our bishop to get, for example, these 2 pawns or something like that, and it should just be a draw. We should hold this. But he didn't play f4, he just played king to g7, getting closer with the king. I played king to f2 here, he played king to g6, and now I tried to activate my rook. Because now, of course, my pawn is defended by my king, so I can move the rook somewhere and, try to get active. A lot of times when you want to draw these hopeless positions or just worse positions, you have to do it the active way. Okay, rook to a1, and he played h5. Now here I played an interesting move, and I think it's a really good one, rook to a6. Now it's funny because he can't move his knight now, because it's pinned by the rook, and he also can't really move his king. Here he just loses the knight. If he goes somewhere here, like you're going to see in the game, I'm just going to start making checks, and yeah, okay, here he played h4, I played bishop to f3, and now he played king to f7. And now you can see the power of this activated rook here. I can just start giving checks. And wherever he goes, for example, if he goes here, I am annoying. Like I said, you have to be annoying if you want to draw these kinds of positions. He can't go anywhere else because he just loses the knight. He has to go back, check here. And yeah, I think you see the point here. He goes all the way here and I play rook to a6. So that's really interesting about this rook to a6 move. And I gave him a check. He played rook to e7, trying to exchange rooks. But I instead played rook to a5. I spotted that these two pawns here are pretty weak, and I just attacked them. Black's only plan to win here, I think, would be to start pushing these pawns, right, and create two passed pawns and try to win the game. So I was thinking that here he would protect his pawn like this, and then after rook to a6, he would try to play something like this. Put his rook here, and then play g4. But he didn't do that, luckily. He just went for g4. He thought it was possible. If you want to draw these kinds of positions, you have to be resourceful and, know which endings are you going to be able to draw and which you won't. So here, please pause the video for a couple of seconds and try to think, what would you play here? Now, if you said rook takes f5, you're absolutely correct. Also, if you wanted to take on g4, it's correct. So yeah, basically, I think rook to a4 here. The point is that you sacrifice your bishop and get these two pawns. So then he will just have his rook and a knight against your rook, which is a theoretically drawn endgame. So, okay, I just played rook to f5 in the game. I think it's, the simplest. He took the bishop, of course. If he doesn't take the bishop, what is he going to do? Then I just won a pawn here. So, yeah, he takes the bishop. And now, which move do you play? You have to get these pawns, because if you don't, then he's just gonna beat you with his extra knight, right? So rook to f4 is the correct move, because it's important to get this pawn right here. You're gonna get this pawn on f3 anyway, so because he can't really defend it, he can't protect it. But if you played king to f3, this is not good because of king to g6, and when you move the rook somewhere, he can, protect this pawn. And now you're in some trouble because he's just a knight up. So that's why rook to f4 is a really nice move. He can't protect this pawn, he can't protect this pawn. The only way to do this is by playing rook to e4 like he did in the game. But that's the whole point of it. You have to calculate it till the end. If I saw that rook to e4 was a winning move for him, that I can't get this pawn and I'm going to lose, then I wouldn't play this variation, this bishop sacrifice right here. But I saw that after rook to e4, it's still a draw. I can take the rook. After he takes, I take the pawn on f3. And the point is that he's hardly going to protect his pawn here on h4. I'm attacking his knight, so first of all he has to move it somewhere. Of course he doesn't want to move it here or anywhere, because after king to g4, I'm attacking the knight, I'm attacking the pawn, and when I take the pawn, it's just a draw because he can't do anything with his knight. But of course he played knight to c6, looks the most logical, and now e4. This is really beautiful, guys, because the threat is basically e5, because this knight is preventing me from going there with my king, and when I play e5, he's gonna have to move, and I'm gonna play king to g4 and just take this pawn. So what is he gonna do about it? Well, he can try to go there with his king, to try to protect this pawn, but of course I just play e5 and just go and take this pawn. Wherever he moves or whatever he does, I'm gonna get this pawn and it's gonna be a draw. So he can also play king to e6, But now king to f4 is a really nice move. Like you can see, I'm just going to go to g5 and just take the pawn on h4, whatever he does. If he prevents me from doing that, I can just go to g4 here and take the pawn. So it's really important for you to know these theoretically drawn endgames, so you can use this knowledge in your own games and, you know, maybe sacrifice some stuff and get into a drawn position like we could saw here. And that's how you hold these positions. You know, if I didn't see this option, if I, for example, took and he recaptured and I was like, oh no, my bishop is attacked, what can I do? I mean, I have to move it somewhere, you know, then this really wouldn't end up well. Well, maybe it's still a draw, but you know, if you can just end his hopes on winning this game by getting into a simple endgame, then of course that's a better option. So guys, remember, when you're trying to save a worse position, just be annoying as much as you can, find interesting possibilities for you, different tricks that you can use to get into favorable positions from which you can draw the game, and just never give up. So yeah, that's it for today guys. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please subscribe, share the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.